The silent resistance. The vast emptiness of space held no judgment as another world fell to the hegemony. From the bridge of the Dominion vessel inexorable, Supreme Commander Xalter watched with cold satisfaction as the final defensive satellites around Proxima Centauri's fourth planet sparked and died. His six-fingered hand tightened around the command staff. Another simple victory for the archives. Resistance has ceased, Supreme Commander, reported Sub-Commander Vrel, her scaled skin catching the blue light of the tactical displays. Their orbital defenses have been neutralized. Xalter nodded once, a gesture adopted from one of the many species now serving under hegemony rule. Begin the standard integration protocol. I want their leaders identified and processed within the planetary rotation. The hegemony's methods never varied because they never needed to. Arrive with overwhelming force, destroy any military assets, replace the government, and begin extracting resources. In 2 centuries of expansion, they had consumed over 300 star systems. No species had ever presented more than token resistance. Preliminary scans indicate rich mineral deposits and a sizable population suitable for labor assignment. Vrel continued, her voice devoid of emotion. The mark of a properly integrated officer. Excellent. Prepare the occupation force, Xalter ordered. He turned to the strategic display that showed their next targets, a series of small colonies and outposts leading toward a yellow star system at the edge of explored space. What intelligence do we have on these human settlements? Vrel changed the display to show a detailed map of the Sol system. They call their homeworld Earth. Technologically advancing, but still primitive compared to hegemony standards. Multiple nation-states with divided governance. Small military presence beyond their home planet, primarily research and resource extraction outposts. Their disunity will be their weakness, Xalter remarked, studying the information. Send scout ships to their Mars outpost. Assess their capabilities before we commit the fleet. Vrel hesitated. An unusual response that caught Xalter's attention. Is there a problem? Sub-Commander. Intelligence indicates these humans may be unpredictable. Supreme Commander. They appear to place high value on individual freedom and have historical records of asymmetric warfare tactics. Xalter dismissed her concern with a wave. All species value their freedom until they learn the benefits of hegemony order. Proceed as instructed. Captain Alina Reyes stood at the viewport of the research outpost Eris 9, watching the red Martian dust swirl across the landscape. The outpost had been established as a scientific installation, but recent reports of unknown contacts at the edge of the system had prompted the United Earth Alliance to quietly upgrade its defenses and assign military personnel. Her quiet contemplation was interrupted by the outpost's eye. Captain, we're detecting unusual energy signatures at the edge of our sensor range. Elena straightened immediately. Show me. The viewport transformed into a tactical display. 3 objects were approaching Mars, moving with deliberate precision. Unknown configuration, reported Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, her second in command. But the energy readings are off the charts. Nothing we've ever encountered. Elena's mind raced. The outpost had limited defensive capabilities, and the nearest UEA military vessel was 3 days away. Are they within visual range? Enhancing now, Hiroshi replied, manipulating the controls. The image clarified to show sleek, metallic vessels with distinctive design elements that immediately marked them as non-human in origin. First contact, but something in Elena's gut told her this wasn't a peaceful visit. Transmit the first contact protocol on all frequencies, she ordered. But also activate the ARES defense grid. Keep it passive until my order. What about the Phantom? Hiroshi asked quietly. Elena glanced toward the hidden hangar where her true command, the experimental stealth vessel UEA Phantom, was concealed. The ship represented Earth's most advanced technology, equipped with a revolutionary phase shift drive that allowed it to temporarily exist partially out of normal spacetime. Prepare for emergency departure, but maintain cover. Let's see what they want first. The alien vessels approached with increasing speed, ignoring the outpost's communications attempts. Suddenly, the lead ship fired a precision beam that destroyed the outpost's main communication array. "They've taken out our long-range comms," Hiroshi reported, his voice steady despite the implications. "No chance to warn Earth." Alina's expression hardened. "That answers the question of their intentions. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the emergency shelters. Activate the defense grid." The Martian outpost's hidden turrets emerged from the surface, surprising the approaching vessels. They managed to score several hits before the aliens adjusted their approach. "Captain, they're deploying smaller craft. Appears to be landing forces," the tactical officer reported. Alina made her decision. "Initiate emergency protocol Omega. We're taking the fight to them." Fleet Commander Zurek of the Hegemony Scout Force was not concerned by the primitive defenses that had activated on the Martian surface. This was standard procedure. A show of force followed by swift subjugation. "Target their power sources," he ordered calmly. "Prepare landing parties." "Commander, we're detecting an energy surge from the surface," reported his sensor officer. Zurek looked up with mild interest. "Another weapon system." "Uncertain. The signature is unlike anything in our database." Before Zurek could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. A vessel had appeared seemingly from nowhere, directly alongside his command ship. "Impossible," he whispered. Their sensors had detected nothing until the ship was practically touching them. The mysterious vessel was small by hegemony standards, sleek and dark, with minimal external features. Before the hegemony ships could react, it fired a series of precise blasts that disabled the weapons systems on 2 of the 3 scout ships. "Return fire," Zurek commanded, but the human vessel seemed to flicker and shift, weapons passing harmlessly through the space it had occupied moments before. On the bridge of the Phantom, Captain Rice watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Phase shift drive performing as expected," reported her engineer. "We can maintain this state for approximately 10 minutes before needing to recharge." "That's all we need," Alina replied. "Target their propulsion systems next." The Phantom shifted position again, appearing beneath the lead hegemony vessel, and firing upward. Critical systems across the alien ship failed as precisely aimed energy pulses disrupted their power distribution network. Zurek watched in disbelief as his ship's systems failed one by one. In centuries of hegemony expansion, nothing like this had ever happened. The human vessel seemed to defy the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing at will. "Transmit our situation to the main fleet," he ordered desperately. "Communications are down, Commander," his officer replied. On the Phantom, Alina opened a channel to the disabled hegemony vessel. "This is Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth Alliance. Your unprovoked attack on our outpost constitutes an act of war. Withdraw immediately or face destruction." Zurek stared at the human face on his screen, shock giving way to rage. "The hegemony does not negotiate with lesser species. Our main fleet will come, and your world will fall like all the others." Alina's expression remained unchanged. "Then remember this day as the beginning of your end." The Phantom fired once more, disabling the remaining hegemony scout ship before disappearing in a flash of energy as its phase shift drive engaged at full power. In the following weeks, the hegemony's invasion plans were thrown into disarray. The UEA Phantom appeared and disappeared throughout the outer solar system, striking hegemony advance forces with surgical precision before vanishing without a trace. Supreme Commander Salter stood before the strategic display, his usual confidence replaced by growing frustration. "How is one vessel causing so much disruption?" he demanded. "Their technology is unexpected," Vrel admitted. "The phase shift capability allows them to appear without warning and evade our targeting systems. And the rest of their fleet, still protecting their homeworld. This vessel appears to be operating independently." Zalter considered this information. The hegemony had never encountered serious resistance before. Their strategy had always relied on overwhelming force and the psychological impact of inevitable defeat. Deploy the full invasion fleet, he ordered finally. Whatever this phantom vessel is, it cannot stand against our combined might. We will crush this resistance and add human ingenuity to our own technology. What Salter didn't know was that Elena rays have been transmitting detailed scans of hegemony technology back to Earth. In labs across the planet, scientists and engineers were working around the clock, adapting the revolutionary phase shift technology for mass production. As the hegemony invasion fleet assembled, humanity prepared its response. The silent resistance was about to become a roar that would echo across the stars. The turning tide. The Hegemony War Council chamber was silent as the presentation concluded. 6 high commanders from different conquered species sat around the massive obsidian table, their scaled skin reflecting the harsh light from above. At the head of the table, Supreme Overseer Fizavor, the oldest living member of the original Hegemony founders, tapped a rhythmic pattern with his claws. "Let me understand correctly," he said, his voice a grating whisper. "A single human vessel has been disrupting our invasion force for nearly 2 months." Supreme Commander Salter stood rigid, his pride wounded. "The vessel employs technology we've never encountered. It can partially phase out of normal spacetime, making it nearly impossible to track or target. And in these 2 months," continued Kazavor, "they have destroyed 17 of our ships, damaged 23 others, and completely compromised our invasion timeline. The humans are resourceful," Salter admitted, "but we have adapted our strategies. The full invasion fleet is assembled and ready to advance." Savor's multifaceted eyes narrowed. "In 2 centuries of expansion, no species has offered meaningful resistance. These humans must be made an example of." "I have developed a plan," Salter said, activating the holographic display. "We've studied their attack patterns. This vessel, they call it the Phantom, prioritizes strategic targets and avoids direct confrontation with our larger ships. We will use this to our advantage." The display showed a massive hegemony fleet positioning itself around Saturn, using the planet's rings as a partial shield. "We will appear vulnerable. A convoy of supply ships, protected by a minimal escort. When the Phantom arrives to attack, our main fleet will emerge from hiding and trap them." "And if they detect your ambush?" asked one of the council members. "Impossible," Salter replied with renewed confidence. "We've developed a new cloaking technology based on their own phase shift principles. Our ships will be undetectable until they attack." Zavor considered the plan. "Very well. Proceed with the operation. But understand this, Salter. If you fail to eliminate this human resistance, someone else will take your place." The threat hung in the air as Salter bowed and departed. The bridge of the UEA Phantom was dimly lit to minimize power signatures as they drifted at the edge of Saturn's gravitational influence. Captain Elena Reyes studied the tactical display showing what appeared to be a hegemony supply convoy. A tempting target. "What do you think, Hiroshi?" she asked her second-in-command. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka frowned. "It fits their usual configuration, but something feels off. They're being too obvious." Elena nodded. The past 2 months had been a constant game of cat and mouse. The Phantom would strike, then disappear before the hegemony could respond. But with each encounter, the aliens adapted their tactics. "Ryoko, run a full-spectrum analysis of the area around Saturn," she ordered her sensor officer. Lieutenant Ryoko Tanaka, Hiroshi's twin sister and the ship's most talented sensor specialist, began running advanced scans. "Standard readings show nothing unusual, Captain. However." "What is it?" "There's a slight gravitational anomaly in the rings. Could be natural, but the pattern is too regular." Elena's instincts flared. "They're learning from us. Magnify that section and enhance." The display zoomed in, showing minuscule distortions in the debris field of Saturn's rings, distortions that corresponded to the size and shape of hegemony warships. "An ambush," Hiroshi stated. "And a clever one," Elena agreed. "They're using some kind of cloaking technology." The bridge crew exchanged glances. The Phantom had been effective because of its unique advantages. If the hegemony had developed similar technology, their edge was diminishing. "Should we withdraw, Captain?" asked the tactical officer. Elena stared at the display, her mind racing through possibilities. The smart move would be to retreat and report this development to Earth Command. But the hegemony had committed significant resources to this trap, resources that wouldn't be used for the main invasion. "No," she decided. "This is an opportunity." Her crew looked at her with surprise. "They're expecting us to attack the convoy and fall into their trap. So let's set our own trap instead." Elena's eyes gleamed with determination. "Contact Earth Command. I need to speak with Admiral Cheng immediately." Supreme Commander Zalter watched with satisfaction as the human vessel appeared at the edge of sensor range. It had been 3 days since the trap was set, and his patience was finally rewarded. "The Phantom has been detected," Commander reported Vrel. "They are observing the convoy but haven't approached yet. They're cautious," Zalter noted, "but they won't be able to resist the target. Maintain position, and be ready to spring the trap on my command." Minutes stretched into hours as the human vessel continued its surveillance from a distance. Zalter's satisfaction gave way to impatience. "Why aren't they attacking?" he demanded. Vrel studied her instruments. "Unknown, Commander. They've maintained the same position for over 3 hours. Perhaps they detected." Zalter began, but was interrupted by sudden alarms. "Multiple energy signatures detected," Vrel shouted, her composure breaking. "Emerging from behind Titan." The tactical display updated to show not 1 but 12 vessels appearing from behind Saturn's largest moon, all bearing the same configuration as the Phantom. "Impossible," Zalter whispered. On the bridge of the Phantom, Elena watched as the prototype fleet emerged from hiding. Earth had been busy during these 2 months, rapidly producing a small fleet of phase-shift-capable vessels. They weren't as advanced as the original Phantom, but they shared its most important capabilities. "All ships reporting ready, Captain," Hiroshi announced. Elena opened a channel to the fleet. "Remember your assignments. Target their command and communication systems first. Execute Operation Checkmate." The Earth vessels engaged their phase shift drives simultaneously, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield in a coordinated dance that confounded hegemony targeting systems. Zaltar watched in horror as his carefully planned ambush dissolved into chaos. Deploy the fleet, target those vessels. But the hidden hegemony ships revealed themselves only to find that the humans had anticipated their positions. Precise strikes disabled ship after ship before they could bring their weapons to bear. "How is this possible?" Zalter demanded as his flagship rocked from multiple impacts. "They knew where we were," Vrel replied, her voice hollow with realization. "They detected our cloaking technology." The battle quickly turned into a rout. The human vessels, though smaller and fewer in number, struck with surgical precision at critical systems. Unlike the hegemony strategy of overwhelming force, the humans targeted communications, weapons, and engines, disabling rather than destroying. Within an hour, 3/4 of the hegemony fleet was adrift, their systems offline. Elena opened a channel to Zalter's flagship. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Alliance. Your invasion force has been neutralized." Zalter stared at the human with hatred. "This changes nothing. The hegemony spans hundreds of worlds. We will return with an even larger force." "Perhaps," Elena acknowledged. "But now you know that humans won't fall easily. We don't seek conquest or domination. We only want to live freely. Remember that when you report back to your leaders." The transmission ended, and the human fleet engaged their phase shift drives, disappearing from sensors as quickly as they had appeared. In the aftermath of the battle, Supreme Commander Zalter stood before the War Council again, this time to deliver news of an unprecedented defeat. "The humans have adapted our own technologies against us," he reported, "and their tactical approach is unorthodox. They disabled our ships rather than destroying them. A sign of weakness, sneered one council member. Tavor, the supreme overseer, disagreed. No, a sign of different thinking. They killed only when necessary, preserved the lives of our warriors, and still achieved their objective. We should return with our full might, Salter insisted. Crush them completely. At what cost? Tavor questioned. For the first time, we face a species that can meaningfully resist us. The resources required for guaranteed victory would leave other parts of the hegemony vulnerable. He studied the battle reports again. These humans, they fight differently. They value individual ships, individual lives. Perhaps there is something to learn here. Learn? From lesser beings. Salter was shocked. Xavor's ancient eyes fixed on him. In 2 centuries, the hegemony has grown by absorbing others. We took their resources, their technology, their people. But perhaps with these humans, another approach is needed. You suggest negotiation. The concept was alien to hegemony philosophy. I suggest adaptation, Xavor replied. The same way these humans adapted to our tactics, they have shown us something we have not seen in centuries, innovation born of necessity. Salter struggled to comprehend this shift in thinking. The invasion plan is suspended, Xavor declared. Prepare a diplomatic vessel. I will meet with these humans myself. As Salter left the council chamber, he reflected on the battle at Saturn. The humans had turned the hegemony's strength against itself, using smaller forces to defeat a superior enemy through intelligence and adaptability. For the first time in his long career, Salter felt something unfamiliar, respect for an opponent. These humans, with their single ship that became many, had accomplished what hundreds of civilizations before them could not. They had made the hegemony pause. 6 months later, Captain Alina Reyes stood in the grand hall of the newly constructed Earth Embassy on neutral territory, a space station orbiting Jupiter. Across from her stood Supreme Overseer Xavor, his ancient form supported by an exoskeleton. Your species continues to surprise us, Captain Reyes, Xavor said. In all our history, we have never signed a treaty with another civilization. Alina smiled diplomatically. There's a first time for everything. Supreme Overseer. The treaty being signed that day established boundaries between human and hegemony space, along with protocols for cultural and technological exchange. It wasn't perfect, and many on both sides mistrusted the arrangement, but it was a beginning. I must ask, Xavor said as the formalities concluded, how did one ship, your Phantom, stand against our fleet long enough for your world to prepare? Alina considered her answer carefully. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When faced with overwhelming odds, we don't surrender, we innovate. A dangerous quality, Xavor observed. Only to those who threaten us, Alina replied. To friends, it's a gift. As she looked out at the stars beyond the station's viewports, Alina thought about the journey that had brought them here. One ship had been the difference between conquest and negotiation, a small thorn that had changed the course of 2 civilizations. The hegemony had conquered worlds with ease until they encountered humanity. And now, both species were moving toward an uncertain but potentially greater future, together.